The inspiration for the 24 fret JS, you know, I think it really came from touring around the world and seeing how so many people really like playing these 24 fret guitars. And just about every manufacturer was making them. And of course I could tell from records and demos people were sending me that people were playing really high up on the neck, you know. That's the first thing you notice. And since I've always been sort of a, you know, a vintage guy, and even getting the 22 frets was a big step for me, I thought it might be an interesting thing to do. You know, you can start to cut a lot of stuff out, or you can go easy, and I was really just thinking, I just want to be able to do some crazy things up here with my fingers and never have to, you know, knock my knuckles on the wood. So I encourage the guys to just really sort of be aggressive with it and see how far we could go. And I was pretty surprised that aesthetically it started to look really good, and I've grown to really like the look of it. I think it, the most important thing, of course, is that you can play way up here, and you can play a lot of fast things that require your fingers to be, you know, jumping up and down, and you never come in contact with the wood. And you know, I checked it out with some older guitars like Strats and things like that just to make sure, and I think we have a much better clearance. I think it is more comfortable and more ergonomic the way we have it, and it keeps the basic aesthetic of the JS guitar. This is a Pro Track from DiMarzio. The reason why I went with this is because I noticed that most guitars, modern guitars, that have the full-on 24 fretboard here, they take a humbucker and they've got to move it way back, and that sort of kills the sound of the neck pickup. And the neck pickup with the JS line is very important. In my music and the music I make with Chickenfoot, it really figures into the records and the live performance. So I didn't want to lose that particular tone quality, but I also wanted to take advantage of the fact that if we were going with a smaller pickup here, so we could get it as close to the fretboard as possible, we had some great options from DiMarzio to fool around with. So after working with Steve Blucher and Larry quite a bit, we came up with something that they already had going, which was great. And the Pro Track gives you that throaty tone if you're looking for that Hendrixy Strat kind of sound, but it also is big enough to sort of take the place of the humbucker. So it comes very close to the PAF-PRO or the PAF-Joe, and it seems to balance really well with the Mo Joe pickup. Well, I think any time that you get an extra 2 frets on a guitar, you're gonna wander up there and see what they do. So the obvious answer to the question, does it make you play differently, is a yeah, you play some higher notes. Not everyone in the band will be happy with that, but I think that after you get over the obvious thing that, wow, I can go up there and just bend from there, you begin to see the benefits of it. Number one, when you are reaching up there for E's or F sharps or even G's, you can actually get them. Whereas on a 22 fret guitar, it's a pretty scary venture because you've really got to bend that string and it could always break because you're pushing the limits of the flexibility of the string there. So one of the things that I did right away though, which is the obvious thing, when we were making the Chickenfoot record, I had to do a solo for the song, Oh Yeah, and we were fooling around with different ideas and different guitars, and so I pulled out the prototype, the yellow one, and I said, let's see what this thing does, and we did one take, and first thing I did was, as I was wandering up the neck, was I bet I could hit a G on this real easy, and it wound up as the the solo track that we used for the record. And it kind of worried me on tour later when I only had the JS 1000s because I had to hit that high G. Sometimes I would cheat, play it on the B string and try to make an artificial harmonic. But now that we're starting to put this into the line above the guitars we use on tour, I can go up there and hit that high G and not be worried that string's gonna break. When we were recording the Chickenfoot record at Skywalker Ranch, we were actually trading time with Steve Miller, who had been there before us and was coming in after us, and he was also using Andy Johns, our co-producer and engineer. So Steve asked me to play a few tracks for his record, and I wound up adding some solos to I think 2 or 3 songs, and I did use the very first prototype of the JS24 exclusively using the Pro Track, the neck pickup, and getting really beautiful vintage Strat-like tones on it. It was really a great experience. This year I'm going to be taking this guitar out on tour with Chickenfoot, with the Experience Hendrix tour, and I bet there'll be something else in there, maybe some solo work, I plan on using this a lot, and I'm going to make it sort of part of the arsenal.